What's up, guys? It's Bradley with the Insurance Guys podcast. Hey, look, recently I actually got 2 more days out of my month. If you know me and you know how tight my schedule is, me getting 2 more days is huge. And I'm going to tell you how I did that. I did that with CoverDesk. Guys, this is not a testimonial, even though they are a sponsor. It's not a testimonial. It's not a made-up story. This is a real-life story. Me as a new agency owner, obviously, my business organization chart, I fill 80% of the seats, right? Well, one of the things that I do, because I wanted to make sure that my people get paid right, is I reconcile all my commission statements for all my carriers. And literally, guys, when it comes around payroll time, it takes 2 whole days for me to reconcile for the agency and reconcile for my agents. And I recently trained my CoverDesk virtual assistant on how to reconcile the agency commissions for my management system, which I'll say is not a popular management system. It's a newer management system. And I was able to train her how to do that. Literally, guys and gals, it bought me 2 extra days in the month. I could get 2 more days of production, get 2 more days with my family. Think about what you could get from 2 days. That's what this service from CoverDesk has provided me. Give CoverDesk a call or head over to www.coverdesk.com. Thanks.
Insurance agents from around the world, welcome to the Insurance Guys podcast. My name is Scott Howell, your fearless host and leader, insurance agency owner and insurance evangelist for I Protect Insurance and Financial Services, based out of Huntsville, Alabama. And before we get started on today's episode, please help me welcome. He is a 6'3" sophomore from Saraland, Alabama, parade first team All-American rivals, 5-star recruit. He is a fantastic insurance agent and a great American. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome the incomparable Mr. Bradley Flowers. How are you, Bradley?
Great, Scott. How are you today?
Best I have ever been. Guys, I get fired up when we get somebody on this show that I 1,000,000% know can help you and your agency. And, you know, we try our best every time we batch file it, 10 to 12 episodes of the podcast, to get 2 or 3, I call them sprinkle in 2 or 3 of these really good brand spanking new technology companies that have come in and are looking to change the world of insurance. We've got a guy on here today that I feel like can do that. So our mission on this podcast is to help you guys in any way we can. That includes new technologies so that when you go to lunch with one of your insurance buddies, you can say, hey, man, have you heard about this new thing called XYZ? And so today we're going to do that for you, and I'm excited to have him on the show. I'm going to go ahead and introduce him now because we got a lot of ground to cover. Ladies and gentlemen, he lives in Gibsonia, Pennsylvania. He is married to his beautiful wife, Ashley, and they have 2 babies, Harper and Holden. He has a degree in public relations from the California University of Pennsylvania and 13 years experience in business development, sales, and account management in technology and professional services. He is the vice president of sales for Aureus Analytics. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my profound honor to introduce to you first-time guest on the Insurance Guys podcast, Mr. Ron Shroyer. How are you, Ron?
I'm doing great, Scott. Thanks a lot for having me. Bradley as well.
Dude, I am so fired up to have you on here. I've actually heard you speak before. I was in I guess you call a Zoom call with a bunch of different agents and people within the industry talking about your technology that we're going to discuss today. Give us a little flavor of how you kind of got to where you are today, and talk a little bit to our audience and just give them kind of a broad overview of what Aureus Analytics does.
Yeah, certainly. So myself personally, I've been involved in the insurance industry for roughly about 7 years of that 13 or so. with it. I ran into a non-compete issue with one of my prior companies, and I kind of fell into insurance like a lot of people do. I had the opportunity to work with Huntington Insurance. It's based Columbus, Ohio based, but I worked for the Pittsburgh branch, and I was an employee benefits producer. And I had a great time because I think insurance is so interesting. I mean, working with clients, understanding some of the business needs, obviously down to the personal level, and you learn so much about so many different entities with it. But I started to notice, because I've always been a technology guy myself, I started to look at some of the base foundational technologies that insurance producers, agencies, organizations were using to operate the business. But on top of that, trying to use things to be able to better serve their customers, because that customer is the absolute most important thing in the entire insurance value chain. From carriers to agents, brokers, MGAs, wholesalers, nothing happens without that end insured. And there needs to be more tools available to be able to work with them at an easier clip and help them manage their risks, whether it's on the personal side or the business side of things. Mm-hmm. So I had the opportunity. I got when I got placed to Huntington, the gentleman who used to be the global head of sales at Aon called me and says, "Hey, I got a gig for you. It's going to be perfect. You got a technology background. You got a little insurance background on this side." And it's a company called RiskMatch. And RiskMatch was started by a gentleman by the name of Kabir Syed. And Kabir organized and developed Marsh's internal analytics platform called Market Connect.
Wow.
So what it did was just started aggregating that very difficult and cumbersome data out of the agency management system that gave agency owners, executives, and account owners the ability to just understand what they had just in general. Because once you can do that, you can start to establish a lot of different strategies. Right. As far as how to address clients, how to work with carriers, just open up that book with data and use it. And I was with them for 2 years and then another 2.5 years because we got acquired by Vertafore. I have worked with hundreds of agencies to talk about how can we use data, how can we ingest it, how can we establish strategies, where do we get results, and it was so much fun. The team we had established there were so many industry veterans, some high senior level executives, down to the people who worked with clients, had industry experience, and I really cut my teeth on knowing what some of the challenges were and how to kind of overcome some of those challenges for agencies. So I had the opportunity to join Aureus Analytics, started talking to them middle of last year. And going back to what I said earlier, the most important thing is the end customer. So what Aureus's biggest thing that they want to work with is let's learn more about that end customer. How can that cross-section of data and all the technology that organizations use, how can you use that to better understand what are my customers most likely to do next? Mm-hmm. And we've done that phenomenally, for the past 7 years with some of the largest carriers in the world with like AXA, Allianz, Transamerica, and so on. And part of when I came over, I said, we need to look at coming to the agency channel, because agencies right now are in a space to where they know they have to do something with data. They need a strategy. They also need to work much more efficiently and effectively with the clients they have. So we developed a product called Donna that is strictly designed for the agency system in the United States. So what Donna does is take all those different systems, pull it all into one spot, and give you fantastic insights on the customer experience that you're providing to your end insured throughout the entire journey. Mm-hmm. And that's very important because we all talk about what's the right message, what's the right way to engage somebody at the right point in time. And that it's very difficult to gauge if you're just looking at pure reporting data, so on. So Aureus gauges every event that you have with an insured. So Bradley's my agent. He's calling me. I'm buying policies. I'm renewing policies. I'm giving feedback, testimonials. I'm calling him, complaining about a service request through a carrier or getting a claim resolved. We can track all that type of stuff because Bradley's going to know exactly how I feel about him as an agent. And that's going to let you do a lot of things as far as working with me. Have conversations about have the better opportunity to retain my business. But then also, when's the right time to approach Ron about he has these other exposures we're not currently writing. How can we work with him and get him in a position to where he's ready to buy more business from us right now?
Ron, I want to lower the boom on these insurance agents. Let's just blow some people's freaking minds right now, okay? So I sat in on one of these conference calls, and I got off of it, and I thought, holy shit, we're like the Jetsons now. We have figured this out, right? So tell the 250,000 insurance agents that are listening to this right now some of the cool stuff that I heard. This was about 3 months ago, of things like voice tonality on the phone and some of the integrations that you guys are doing to come up with this. And you'll have to excuse me for a moment because I'm having a senior moment, but score, this insurance or customer satisfaction score that you're giving to these clients? Blow their minds for a minute.
Yeah, that kind of goes back to what I was talking to as far as how customers feel about you. So Aureus has developed a proprietary algorithm, we'll call it, called Centimeter. And it's kind of like sentiment meter, nice little play on words on that side. But what it does is I mentioned all those different points of data you have. So you as an agency, you have an agency management system, you may have a CRM, you have a phone system, you have chat capabilities or text capabilities. You have all these different sources of data that are centered around your customer. And a lot of them can be structured within those agency management systems, or it can be just language like you and I and all of us are talking right now. So we're able to pull all those in and get them into the right format to understand. I'm texting Bradley right now. I'm letting him know that I'm upset. We can run that through natural language processing to get the underlying sentiment of what I'm saying to him, because that's going to drive you to how can I better service Ron right now? Or if Ron's mentioning things about additional exposures, let's pull that out and give an agent an immediate indication that Ron's primed to buy this right now.
Right.
And I look at it like, every
so
other.
What he's saying is it listens to the phone calls is what he's saying.
And text and other platforms as well.
Yeah, but also indications of some of those other events. And we also use third-party data sources too to learn a lot more about your customers. And I know people might get freaked out about it because when they look at like their Instagram or their Twitter and say I'm talking to Bradley about buying a new truck, and the next thing that pops up is a Dodge Ram ad on my
happens
Instagram.
all the time. All the time.
Yeah, but ultimately what we want to do, and I think a lot of the wonderful, we'll call them, insurtechs or insurance technology enablers that are out there right now is how can we work with clients more efficiently to understand their needs? Because there's a lot of competitive influences that are out there that could start to kind of get in and take a lot of your clients. And I think the last 6 months has really expedited what's going on within the industry that people know. How do I get a better digital footprint? How do I engage with my clients without being face-to-face with them, which we all know and love? And I think that's the most beautiful thing about the industry is the relationships on it. But Aureus takes into account all those different events that I have as an insured, whether it be policy-driven, transaction-driven, or even just verbally driven, to understand that and give agents the ability to know what to do next in a very easy-to-understand format too.
So if a customer is satisfied, or let's say they're very satisfied, what kind of score would they get there? Is it just a 1 to 10 or is it?
Yeah, it's a 0 to 100 scoring scale. And every single event that happens has an influence of the score. So weighted averages, policy events, transaction events, interaction events like we're having on it. So the higher the score towards that 100 scale, the better. So if you have a single client that's in that spot, plus we run a lot of predictive models over top of it to say, hey, this client's an 88 right now. They're prime right now to buy a motorcycle policy, a boat policy, or additional limits on their umbrella because you realize they had assets you didn't know they had before we brought in all these other data points about them. There's just so many things that are available within the systems you're using, but the most difficult thing is just bringing them into one spot, and that's something that we can really help agencies achieve and get to.
Let's talk about that. How do we do that? Like I'm no different than the other 250,000 agents listening to this right now. And just secret time for a minute. We're probably 2 weeks away from our quote unquote free trial with Donna. Okay. So we're going to be within the next couple of weeks utilizing this platform. But if I'm another agent out there listening to this right now, like how are we bringing this in? Are we taking our client data from our management systems and then importing that into the Donna system, kind of dropping it in?
Yeah, that's a great question. And in your example, Scott, too, I mean, we have a great relationship with Hawksoft. So from the Hawksoft standpoint, you can go into the marketplace and download the Aureus app within there. And
now, I got to interrupt. And this goes back to how scary Donna is. How'd you know I was a Hawksoft guy? I didn't bring that up.
My counterpart who runs customer success is when that actually the other gentleman on this podcast is hosting it too. Let me know that months ago. So
I got you. Okay.
Ron has a bug in your house. He listens to everything you say.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead. I get to where you're going. Go ahead.
No worries. So I mean, we run a webhook off of that, so we just pull in the data automatically. We build out the dashboards, provide it to you. And I think I kind of mentioned earlier all these different technology companies that are out there right now, and the willingness for each one to work with each other. it has been fantastic, even though there might be a little bit of competitive overlap with some of these companies. And I'll use an example like the team at Rocket Referrals. They're awesome.
Yeah. Right.
They're so great to work with. Cotter Group's bridge technology, like there's some things that they do that are kind of like us, MPS, customer testimonial, because we can ingest those type of data with that type of data with those partners, and then pull it in. It could be a part of that centimeter score, but then it also helps like Rocket Referrals use data at a better clip to understand targeted campaigns of how they can do drip marketing to your clients about certain policies, about certain opportunities. And we're working on right now from the Aureus standpoint, building out our suite of API connectors to bring in as much data as possible and ultimately help the agents provide the best customer experience across all their different technologies they're using for their end insureds.
Hey guys, it's Bradley with the Insurance Guys podcast here. I know I'm interrupting your podcast listening experience right now, but I have a very important message for you. No singular individual has done more for the Insurance Guys podcast than the man himself, Mr. Chris Paradiso. And as you may or may not know, Chris releases a magazine once a year called Be the Last Agent Standing that is a phenomenal resource for the industry. Guys, you do not want to miss this year's issue. It features some fantastic articles from people like Ryan Hanley, Bob McCool, and even myself. And if you want to get your hands on a copy before they're all gone, text the word magazine to 251-237-9383. That's 251-237-9383. We will send you the link to purchase your magazine. Really appreciate it. Thanks.
As the end user agency owner, Bradley and I, the unbelievable thing about what we're discussing right now are all the systems that you just mentioned are all systems I use. So we use Rocket Referrals. We use The Bridge. We use Hawksoft. So once we get that data, let's say these agents out there sign up for Donna and they start utilizing this information. I guess what you're looking to do is find the lowest people that have the lowest scores, and then you're reaching out to them to find out ways that you can make them happier with the service that you're providing, correct?
Yeah, certainly, if that's one strategy. But I think what it also uncovers, you can look at a lot of times what we see from data of our clients is some of those lower scores might be monoline clients that aren't really interested as far as expanding business with you. They call you and they want you to remarket an auto policy to save $6 a year or something like that. And it's just inefficient. But if you have some very good clients that you have an opportunity to grow long term with, and they fall within that certain score range, we can identify those underlying trends that are happening with sets of those clients. So then you can approach it from a better retention strategy. And I kind of go back to engage them early and often. And I know both of you do a phenomenal job of keeping in front of your clients with it on it, but it helps you, from the true, not so much the insurance marketing aspect, from the true marketing sense of the word. Knowing the right message to deliver to the right clients at the right time. And that kind of goes back to that digital experience, connecting to your clients better, especially over the last handful of months to be able to do that.
Do you have to have the bridge system to integrate with Donna to pick up on the voice tonality side of this?
You do not. We have various options for that too. So we have clients that have other voice systems that they may record it on their own, and they can provide us those recordings, and then we can run it through natural language processing and get the underlying sentiment out of it. I think outside of Cotter Group's Bridge, we're in the early stages of talking to some other companies that are heavy in the insurance industry, specifically in the U.S., to get that data at an easier clip too as well. Because I certainly understand from my last handful of years of experience, we don't want to interrupt workflows for agencies. I mean, they have to be very, very thoughtful with their time, because that end desk level user who's working with clients has 7,000 tasks a day they have to go to. So if we can become more of an enhancement of that process instead of another step within that process, that's what we want to do all day. And that's where we want to be as a company, is kind of be the back end brains of what's going on with the agency.
Would you go as far as to call this AI?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's Aureus's, we do a lot, even though the platform we developed is very simple and clear and easy to use. There's a ton of data science going on in the background. We learn from individual agencies across their clients. We learn from the entire data pool that we have too. So our predictions when it comes to better retaining clients, when it comes to selling clients additionally, as we progress, There's feedback that's given to us that lets us get smarter and smarter as we go. And I kind of equate that to first time you go into Amazon, they trace your searches,
Right.
what you're buying, what you're not buying, and so on. And they really start to hone those predictions. Hey, you bought this. Did you ever think about buying this? Because other people like you are buying it too.
If you've got a large enough sample size before this is all said and done of insurance agents across the United States, are you guys planning on sharing with your member, Donna agencies, the findings of what you're coming up with as this data analytics kind of get honed in?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's very beneficial to agency owners and account owners too. And we had a kind of a strategy session a few months back with a couple of advisors and my CEO up in Hartford. And we talked about what type of insights we want to provide from the top level based off the premium. And we kind of want to stay in our lane, because when people think about benchmarking, they automatically go to maybe advise in on this side. I need to know what's the average limit of a D&O policy or something like that. But I think if we stay in our lane with customer experience, with average policy lifetime value, number of policies per client, who's better at cross-sell than who, and obviously this is going to be anonymized when we share it between agencies.
Sure.
But that's what we want to get to, because I look at some, the Marshberry Connect platform. Marshberry's been around forever, and they do a very nice job of aggregating data from a peer-to-peer standpoint, because that's how you're able to measure yourself, measure growth. And I think if you can give that in an easy to understand format on that side, it's going to help everybody involved. Again, it comes down to growth and just using data at an easier clip.
I have the most important question of the day for you. Gibsonia, Pennsylvania. Is it or is it not home to Mr. Pat McAfee? Did he grow up in that area?
Pat McAfee grew up in Pittsburgh. He's actually a little bit south of here, so he grew up in Plum. On that side. Yeah. And Pat's, he's very enjoyable. I'm on that side listening to him and obviously watching him play on that end too. Gibsonia was actually a home of Neil Walker, who was the Pirates had 3 years of decent, and he went to the high school that's like a mile from me right now. So just about 20 minutes north of Pittsburgh on that side. And I grew up almost at the West Virginia line, about an hour south of Pittsburgh. So
I can see that you work out maybe 1 or 2 hours a day.
A little bit.
Have you always been a fitness addict?
Yeah. And that goes back to, I played a lot of sports, football into my freshman year of college, on that side too. And I banged up my knee pretty good my sophomore year of high school. And it was right before we got into the playoffs. And it was freezing cold outside. And all I had on was a pair of shorts. And that's before I started lifting. And my coach was like, go to the weight room. I was limping around in there too. And I just got hooked. I got hooked on fitness on that side. It's always been a part of my life. I'm a 5 a.m. guy, get up, go. I do spend 2 hours there in the morning because it's my outlet. I actually owned a gym on the side for a few years with it. And in fitness, I just think from the mental aspect of things, but also I'm a huge competitor at the same time. It's just something that has helped driven me. And, I'm going on 20 plus years now of being just heavily involved with that every single day of my life.
Right. So before we shut this thing down, Bradley, I want to ask and make sure that Ron gets a chance to tell these agents where they can go to find out more information about Aureus Analytics and specifically Donna. But did you have any questions for him before we got off the show?
I do have a question. You've been doing this for a little while now. You've obviously seen the back end of a lot of data as it relates to insurance agencies. What's been the most surprising thing you've seen?
The most surprising thing that I have seen with is, and I don't know if it is necessarily surprising, but when you aggregate large sums of data, and I go back to my prior life, is some of the shortfalls within areas of need. And I kind of go back to that benchmarking standpoint, because the quality of the data within the agency management system, I think everyone knows that they have the adage garbage in, garbage out and stuff too with it. Mm-hmm. But as we've seen over the last 5+ years or so, there's been a much more heavy investment as far as kind of the process and procedures within agencies, because they know once they can get the data right, it's going to help them do a lot of things. And whether that means working with specific carrier markets at a better level, that's going to be better for their clients and also economically for that agency, it's one thing. But also when you're servicing a client, you want to make sure you have a good set of understanding of what's happening within in that industry or peer groups for a personal standpoint of it. And I think that is the most interesting thing I've seen. And it's getting better and better as the years progress, as far as the quality of data, because people are investing in that now. And when we talk about what sizes of agencies are fit for data and analytics solution. And we have clients that have only 300 insureds, 300 personal lines insureds, all the way up to some larger agencies that have millions of dollars of premium on this side with it. And you don't have to be a certain size to use this, because when it comes to data quality, there's a lot of different partners out there that can just pull out your data, lay it out for you, and show you where some of those shortfalls may be. And that's going to eliminate a lot of the front end lifting as far as digging around the agency management system, trying to find that. And it's going to allow you to progress and expedite much quicker too.
So Ron, tell us how these agents can get in touch with you guys.
Yeah, certainly. So we just rolled out our new URL for Donna. So the website's donnaforagents.com on that side. And we're building out more content on there as well. We have customer success managers reaching out on that end. Reach out to me directly. My email address is ron@aureusanalytics.com for it too. And I'm more than happy to work with anybody that wants to learn a little bit more just about Donna or just what's going on in the industry and what some peers are doing too. And it'd be fantastic to have that opportunity.
I think you're going to get a lot of interest from our guys because, we're doing it. And I know I talked to Chris Paradiso last night, and he's just been blown away by it. So, insurance agents from around the world, I talk about this all the time. We are moving forward, and we have got to move the ball one step forward to greatness. One way that you can do that is to utilize some of these new technologies that are coming out that guys like Ron and his team over there are developing for you that don't cost a whole lot of money and could improve your agency's performance and let you know, in this case, who's happy, who's not so happy, and market to people in different ways. There's just so many benefits from this. I hope that you'll at least go check it out and find out if it's right for you and your agency. But Ron, thank you so much for being here today. I'm going to go ahead and close this thing out. Guys, as I say every week, rewards come from action, not discussion. Get your ass out from behind that desk today. Go out into the big bad world and go sell insurance. Make money for your family, for your wife, for your husband. Put money in your kids' college fund so that they can be successful in their life later on, and make money to help your parents that are struggling out there. Figure out what your why is and go do it. So write good business for the agencies that you represent, and write good business for the companies that you represent. Bradley Flowers, I love you.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks, Ron.
Thanks, guys, for having me. Enjoyed it.
Ron, we love you too, brother.
We'll
talk to you real soon. Guys, you are listening to the Insurance Guys podcast, and we'll see you back here real soon. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Insurance Guys podcast. If you need to know more about me or you need to get in touch with Scott, you can always reach me at theinsuranceguyonline.com or email me at iprotectins@gmail.com. And if you need to get in touch with Mr. Bradley Flowers, go to bradleyflowersinsurance.com or email him at bradley@saralandinsurance.com. Guys, we love you. Thank you so much for listening. We look forward to being with you again real soon on the next episode of The Insurance Guys. Take care.